What's up, everybody? Welcome. It's Haberman and MIDDLEKAUFF. That's John. I'm Guy. It's our YouTube channel and our podcast. However you consume, we thank you.
We talk for a living, so we're here.
Here we
to
are.
Talk.
Somebody commented on a video yesterday that I did, John, said like, I was going through the QB grades. They're like, get a life. I'll be back when the football's played. And I said, this is my life.
I went for a power walk today,
Attaboy.
and I was going up a hill. It was pretty hot, and I looked down, my phone buzzes, and the text is from a Niners scout, and it just says, no flights from Phoenix to the Bay Area, ? He said, I see Haberman here fucking roaming the sidelines. I said, yeah. I don't really have a good excuse,
I've been meaning to say hi to your boy, but I don't know if I can. I didn't know if he knew me. You were usually the introduction, but I'll tell Mike Shanahan hi.
I think it's a pretty, this is not Belichick rules out there where you would never. I mean, if someone like me or you got caught talking to one of his guys, that guy could be fired. It's probably more. Yeah, I'd say the Niners. I think the Eagles. It's much more kind of friendly. It's but I do think you would never, if you're not Adam Peters or Lynch, probably want to get caught if like Kyle looks over. It's not like I don't think John Lynch. It's more that, or maybe just there's always the way a corporation looks like. Who's this guy should be talking?
Totally. Yep. Do you have the status? I saw Larry Krueger today was like, hey, what are you guys doing next week? Are you guys going? Is John going to Vegas? And I said no. And I said, well, actually, it's going to Tahoe. But
taking a vacation.
But I said the thing is, like, who knows what anybody's going to get out of a Josh McDaniels practice? Now, are there some rules? I don't know. With a joint practice, like, whose rules do you abide by? I assume the Raiders' rules. Doesn't look like the smoke is affecting Vegas, John. But good, which is good. But
I would imagine it would be pretty normal. Like most football practices, whether you go to a college practice, I would say a high-end high school practice or an NFL practice, are pretty similar, right? You start individual, you head into group. Like I you've been to a ton of college practices. Do any of the practices look that different if they have pads on? Like they all kind of follow a similar script.
Right.
I mean, it could depend. Some's move the ball, some's goal line, some's crazy situations. Like the day might change, but the actual it's like golf. You play in 1 through 18, right? You kind of have an idea once the whistle blows and they kind of break from stretch. The next, depending on how long it is. I haven't been to a joint practice in a long time. They can definitely vary, but I would imagine it would be pretty similar. You kind of separate, and then the moment you start going group stuff, O-line, D-line, wide receiver, right, running backs, maybe one day they'll do like running backs versus linebacker, pass protection drill. You just kind of incorporate the two teams.
Yeah. Last one I was at the Winter Broncos Niners joint practice.
Oh yeah, it was similar.
Paxton Lynch.
Oh yeah, forgot
Paxton
about
Lynch. If you are listening to the podcast, however you listen to it, great. We appreciate that. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or wherever you get your pods. Leave a question. And if you're watching this video, a lot of you watching, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Half of you, the data says half of you watching this video, whether it's live or not, are not subscribed to the channel. And we appreciate you subscribing to the channel since this is the life I've chosen. So, here we go. Where should we start? You want a few QB scores or you want some injuries?
We got to say shout out to our sponsor, Tito's.
That's where we should start, John.
Love those guys. You're doing anything this weekend? Enjoy a Tito's. We're recording this before Thursday night football. I guess preseason doesn't actually start this weekend. We're still a week away from preseason games.
Yep.
It's just that game. So it's like you can't really watch other preseason games. Watch baseball game. I mean, I was watching Giants Diamondbacks last night. Have yourself a Tito's Friday night, Saturday night, tonight, Thursday night. Tito's, whatever you want. Go support the brand. They're the best in the fucking business. We love them.
I was talking to people on the sideline today at Niner practice. I won't name names, but there was a heavy Tito's consensus.
Jed?
Not Jed.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
No, not Kareem. Kareem was not there today. But, yeah. So there was that. Also, shout out to Susie and Tyler from Morgan Hill, John, who yelled at me and said they enjoy the show.
Colbert?
Huh?
Susie Colbert?
I think she spells it with an S.
Oh.
I don't know that. That's just the sense I got. Susie with a Z. Although Susie is Got like not at ESPN anymore, right? Colbert.
Oh, she was part of the layoffs.
I think so, because there's this big debate about who's going to host Monday Night Countdown, Van Pelt or somebody else.
There's been a lot I saw on YouTube. Just the algorithm was like Stu Gatz. No one cares who calls games because you see hand down, man down also got fired. So like the NBA crew, Van Gundy, Mark Jackson, both gone. Mm-hmm. And I am in some agreement with clearly a couple years ago, the Monday night crew, like that's unacceptable, especially when it's a standalone game. But I think that there's 80% of it, like the difference between, and you and me, Kevin Burkhardt guys, Greg Olson, and ultimately Troy and Joe, who are awesome. Like I don't think no one's any less likely to watch Niners Packers because
it's not about the ratings. That's right. It's about other things, but it's not about the ratings.
But like if Doc Rivers and Mike Breen are doing it, like there's no difference than I like Jeff Van Gundy.
Oh, right.
That's what I'm saying. Like Kevin Burkhardt could host the fucking Super. He did, right? Greg Olson is good. Like you could just Tony Romo or the next Tony Romo, right? It's just now there's a difference of like Booger, right? You can't have Booger who doesn't know what's good. I like Booger college. I think it's a very tough transition. We've often talked about this, like calling Herb Street is awesome at college football. He knows his shit. But calling Penn State and Ohio State is dramatically different than calling even just 49ers Seattle. It's
from a crane. They had Booger on a crane. Remember that? They had him on a crane.
I don't think a lot of people realize, too, like if you do a college football game, especially if you're not flying private in some of these towns at night, like you probably miss a decent amount of the morning NFL games just in transit, right?
Right.
Yeah. You're not just on your couch like us.
That's right.
Or definitely me. You've been in transit. I mean, it's just you get to a place like it's hard to get back from.
Yeah.
Lubbock, Texas doesn't have directs all the time.
You go to Dallas. That's what I did.
So, guns up.
Why are you trying to talk about the Big 12 right now, John?
I don't understand why Utah doesn't get more respect. I would just if Utah's like I'm coming after Utah. I would want Utah.
Yeah, I mean that's the rumor. I'm with you. I think.
I'm not talking. I'm talking the Big Ten. Like, I don't, why does Stanford and Cal have to be a package deal?
I don't know that they're going to be Utah in that either. I mean, to me, in the world 10 years from now, where there's 40 college football teams, Utah's in that party.
That's what I'm saying. Like
to
me,
tough
Utah's
part's going to be when they're like, "Okay, Wake Forest, we have to have a conversation."
Well, did Florida State saying they want out because they think they're getting screwed?
Okay, Vandy, we have to have a conversation. Wait, what's Wake in? Is Wake in the ACC?
Yeah.
But, Rutgers. Florida State, they got their grant of rights is tied up till 2036. They're not happy. They're taking that sucker to court.
But if you're the SEC right now, wouldn't you just, it's like, do you really need Vandy for the academics or can you just boot them to grab Florida State?
Eventually you can. The presidents don't like to do that. All right, let's get to some, can I give you some scoring, John?
What happened? Yeah, give me.
Scoring. Here we go. Brock Purdy today, even par. For those of you who aren't golf people, par is good. It's baseline. Birdies, better. Excellent. Bogeys, bad. So in golf, it's kind of reversed. Lower scores, negative scores are better. Positive scores are bad. All right. Par for Brock, and I'll take you through it. Darnold, 1 under, but an unspectacular 1 under. And Trey, 1 over. I was actually going to go par for Trey today, but everyone jumped me for not giving Brock a double bogey yesterday for a pick. So I had to give Trey a double bogey today, even though I wrote bogey. And then I realized, oh, wait, this is a double bogey, or else people are going to say, aren't interceptions worth more than incompletions? And I'll say yes. Part of it was that, let me take you through. Brock, couple nice birdie throws. I think I just want to tell you, I'm not going to read you everything, but yes.
Has he changed like his... Did I read that
it's confusing? So I didn't think he was going to throw today because initially Kyle said 2 days on, 1 day off. So they did 2 practices, had an off day, and he skipped a practice. So then it was 2 days on, 2 days off. Yesterday they had an off day after he practiced for 2 days. So by the original schedule, he would have been back today. But the last time they had the schedule, he got back-to-back days off. So he practiced today after 1 day off, which is different than what he did the previous time when he got 2 days off. So Kyle acted like it was no change. Kyle acted like it was just part of the regular schedule, but it was different than what they did with him previously. he got one less day off than he got previously.
When we were talking about the initial surgery and then once the surgery happened and the timelines, wouldn't you say that this is blown by even best case scenarios that he's able to do this on August 3rd when we were like doing the dates? Like this is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's definitely best case scenario at least, right?
Best case scenario.
Yeah. I mean, Kyle said at the initial press conference, 2 weeks is when he'll be full go. And middle of next week is 2 weeks from when practice started, right? Practice started in the middle of a week. So middle of next week, the Niners are going to, the schedule's not out yet, but they probably will practice Monday, then maybe have like a light Tuesday workout. Then they fly Tuesday to Vegas, and then they practice in Las Vegas. So, that he could, I don't know. I don't know exactly how they're going to play it because they're going to have Sunday off. So we won't really know. He's going to have a built-in off day next week.
Is the plan the 9th, 10th to do the joint practices?
So the game is on the
11th.
So I think it's 10th and 11th. Are you looking at the calendar? What is Wednesday date?
Wednesday is the 9th.
So what are they? So I don't know. That's why I'm still waiting to figure out if they fly Tuesday. What are they doing on the 9th? If they're not joint practicing, could they be practicing on their own somewhere else?
If they're not playing until Thursday, if they practice the 9th and the 10th, what do you do the 11th and the 12th?
Yeah,
even if the 12th is a laid back day. They're in Vegas a long time.
Not exactly clear how that schedule is going to break down, although it may be right that they do their own practices a couple days or one day.
There is a chance if the practices are the 10th and the 11th that you wouldn't fly out till the 9th.
Being Wednesday? Yeah, that's possible.
Because I remember the 10th
sense.
and the 11th in my head feel like.
It makes sense, right? You fly Wednesday, you practice Thursday, Friday, you have Saturday off, and then you play Sunday. Although you could argue fly Tuesday after like a light walkthrough, do your own practice Wednesday, and then joint practice Thursday, Friday.
Mark give up the facility for a couple hours to his
I'd say you take
friends,
UNLV's
arch rivals.
You got to take UNLV's practice field, but they're probably just firing up practice. So I don't know what
Aces have any room?
I don't think it's big enough.
No, probably not.
I don't think it's big enough. So couple of birdie throws. So like above average good throws for Brock today. Brock had I went back and forth. He had a bogey throw to Ayuk over the middle. I went back and forth. He threw a 50-50 ball that I scored a par. It was incomplete. It was good coverage. It was broken up by Womack. It was Debo. And these 50-50 balls to Debo just are not, but it was not a bad throw. I'd say it was slightly underthrown. I said to Papa, I'm like, I think the throw was low. It didn't have a lot of air under it. Greg said, I don't know if you've heard this one. That's how they want him to throw that ball in practice because they want the receiver DB competition. There's a team drill, not one-on-ones. So when he comes back on the show, as he volunteered to do, we can clarify.
Was that was a go ball like down the sideline?
Go ball in team, and it's just they do not hit the throw. But John, it was like I saw somebody make a catch in a practice yesterday. It was just a 50-50 ball. A guy goes and gets the ball, and that's what this throw was. And so I saw that comment too. Can you read that, please?
Guy, your golf rating system is an extension of evil social stratification that can only be understood by the rich elites.
That's right.
I take offense to that.
Take umbrage.
Yes, totally. A lot of umbrage to being taken right here.
A lot of umbrage.
The simple fact that
so much fucking umbrage, man.
Golf is a working man's game now. It's public. It became very anyone can play. The access is everywhere you turn. Public golf course. It is not
play
just
for
the old
$30 with a cart right now.
I played yesterday for $30 as well. This is not, Augusta and Pebble Beach only. And Pebble is a public course. You just have to pay $600 unless you're a guy and somehow you play a bunch there for free. But the reality is that's just a bullshit comment. This is not 1981 with Lee Trevino and Jack Nicklaus. This is modern day golf.
That's right.
Public golf, baby.
Right. This is power to the people, John.
Tony Finau got his big break. Literally on the big break. He did the show. Big break.
Somebody played a golf course. Who was? I was talking to somebody today, like, I just played a course in Salt Lake City or in Utah. And they were like, they told me the course record is Finau. Oh my God.
Well, that's where he lives. I
know.
I think he spends half his year there.
He was on the big break.
Tony Finau didn't go to college or anything.
But he was on the big break?
Yes. Didn't win. Did not. I don't think Tony Finau won the big break.
Robbie says, Robbie says, Guy and John's white privilege is showing with this golf rating BS. Just say good throw or bad throw, laughy emoji. I'm trying to be creative, so it's more interesting than good throw or bad throw.
This is what Tiger and Earl tried to break these barriers, guy. They're still fighting for them.
All right, really good throw from Trey Lance. Pressure over the middle, seed to Snead. Really good throw from Trey Lance. This is birdie. Tay Martin to the sideline. Really nice throw. Bogey throw, I think. Threw it. Well, it was a bogey throw. He threw it behind Braden Willis. One thing I've seen in one of the rookies from Oklahoma, Braden Willis does not seem to be dynamic at the moment of the catch if the ball's not like right at his catch zone, but he's a big tight end, so understandable, I guess.
Not super comfortable with Braden Willis's game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I understand. A couple of par throws. He had a throw that was over the middle, kind of behind Ayuk, but Ayuk caught it. But I don't think it was a missed, and I gave him a par. I don't think Trey, I don't think it was inaccurate. I think it was a choice route. He threw it to one side. Ayuk went the other way. Ayuk still adjusted and was able to catch it. So good catch. And then his interception was not good. Just like Brock's near interception the other day was not good. This was a ball. I think he was trying to get to Tay Martin. Tay Martin was not all that close. It was a hooker, as Kyle Shanahan said. He was looking for the hooker. And D. Winters was right there. This is good news for the defense. D. Winters, the 6th-round tight end out of TCU, right in the chest, snagged it. Really good catch. I thought bad throw. Then after practice, Kyle Shanahan said bad read. He's got to check it down there. So
clearly, this D. Winter cat has a lot of like Dre Greenlaw, Alshire, just athlete, right? Flying around. Is that safe to say?
Yeah. He's got some Greenlaw aggressiveness too to him. A little undersized, but so maybe that's part of it. Athletic. The other guy that stands out
is he going to make the team? You think?
I don't know.
But decent chance, clearly.
Yeah, he's got a shot. Jalen Graham, the 7th rounder out of Purdue, is tall. I didn't even look it up yet, but I mean, he looks on the hoof like he might be 6'2" or something.
Could you give me a position on that individual?
That's a linebacker, John.
Purdue's a team that you could kick out of the Big Ten as well, and no one would notice. I guess their basketball team is kind of needed.
I mean, 6'3", yeah. Needed might be strong, but
helps. Add something. Bring something to the table.
Yeah. What else do I have for you? Okay. Did I give you Trey? I gave you Trey. Now, Darnold, I had Darnold 1 under. Darnold was all pars and 1 birdie today, and a lot of pars. See, I'm scoring. Green is birdie, red is bogey, black is par. If you're watching, you get the benefit of that. Short screen, short throw, PI, 81 in the flat, Danny Gray in the flat.
You just don't like Sam Darnold, do you?
He had a really nice throw and catch, and it was the catch. You know who had 2 birdies today, I think? Danny Gray. Danny Gray, I've been saying this for 4 days now. He's looked frustrated to me because they only throw him deep balls, and they're hard to connect on. And he caught a short pass the other day, and his teammates cheered for him, and it made me think that they recognize that he's frustrated, and they have thrown him some intermediate balls in these last 2 practices. So I don't know if Kyle's recognized it, but hopefully the lesson is, hey, this guy has something. We could use him. Let's come to him a little bit and help him feel good and get confident. And he had a really nice catch over the middle, had to go high, not too high. Like I said, I gave Sam a birdie for it because it wasn't an easy throw, but it was a really nice catch from Danny Gray. So all in all, somebody said to me afterwards, I think Brock was the best today. That's fine. Yeah, maybe. But another day where, I think it was a lot of, no pun intended, par for the course.
Like, do you rank the quarterbacks? Obviously, the starter's Brock.
Well, the starter's the starter. And I think the number 2 thing is a competition. It is. Like, this is, there were multiple days, 2 days in a row, where I thought Darnold looked better. Now, we've had a couple days where Darnold has not looked better than Trey, and Trey's been at least as good as him, maybe better than him on one of the days. And, the games are going to really matter. Like, we're not talking about that many throws. Today was a short practice, should be noted. Brandon Allen did not throw a pass today. So, we could talk. I don't think.
No one's getting this confused with like the Junction Boys, Bear Bryant here, right?
No, it was an extra short practice.
Coming off an off day, which again, I'm not trying to act like I could play in the NFL.
That's right.
But a lot of these players complaining. It's never been a better time when you factor in the money they make and you factor in the time you have to practice, which is by far the hardest part of football. As Ray Lewis would say, you pay me Monday through Saturday, the games are for free. Yeah, right? These guys like playing in the games. And none of these fucking guys, or at least the majority of them, we'll see on the Niners, but don't even play in the preseason games. So it's like you really just get the sweet games when everyone's watching.
Yeah.
Again, not acting like I could do it, but I have, with my own eyes, been to the practices that used to be hard. And I do know a lot of the older players that played in that generation, and I do understand I texted this to Marcus Thompson the other day. You hear a lot of the old NBA stars talk shit about the new ones. I'm like, listen, it's human nature, but I think the old school guys in the 80s and 90s, and honestly even the 2000s, have a much bigger gripe in the NFL. One, the money right now is dramatically higher. Two, we fucking died on the goddamn field.
Dramatically is not even, right, like beyond dramatically.
In a different stratosphere.
It's
and
like,
three, the practices, like OTAs were pretty intense. We didn't have a choice. It was like mandatory bullshit or involuntary or voluntary bullshit. Y'all knew they were mandatory. We had to show up. And two, once training camp started, you better have your mind right because you're having double days of goal line. I remember with the Eagles, guys flying over the pile, and it was just like, this is insane. And bodies, guys like this laying there had to be helped up. It's just, now it's like every practice has them, right? The Niners had it with Greenlaw and McCaffrey. Occasionally, like different, it's like, oh my God, they just tackled the guy to the ground. It's a big fucking story. It's like, well, yeah, it's tackle football, But if it happens at any practice, especially with a substantial player, it's a big story. It's like, can you believe that Chris Jones just tackled Isaiah Pacheco? It's like, well, yeah, he's the running back. He's a D tackle. I mean, what's he supposed to do? Ironically, neither of those players. I mean, Chris isn't even there, and Pacheco's hurt, but you know what I mean.
Well, let me ask you this: do you think practice is easy for the guy that holds the D line bag? Who wants that job?
That job's always been hard.
That's Javon Hargrave there, putting hands almost into this guy's throat. No, thank you. I don't want that job.
I think there was a story a couple years ago. Might have been the Niners. Maybe it was the Raiders. Remember, like when you do O-line, D-line, and there's like the assistant, one of the assistant coaches, like it's usually like the assistant O-line coach, pretends to be the quarterback, and he's kind of sitting back there. Sometimes they don't even know, and they like shove you, and you like fly. I'm not saying there aren't violent parts of this version of practice,
No, I know.
but they are. I mean, think about that. 2 days on, they have an off day, and the practice is short.
They have hard, medium, light days. Today was like Kyle said afterwards. It's what their analytics tell them about workload.
Do you know who would have loved analytics? Like
everyone did work 6 days a week. The UPS guy. Analytics say 4-day work week's ideal. Package will be there next week.
I read someone was like, I don't know who came up with the 40-hour work. Maybe it was FDR or something, but there was a headline.
Wasn't that a book?
40-hour work week? That was like the 5-hour work week. I think.
5-hour.
The 40-hour work week like became official whenever, and someone quoted it like, "This guy is the biggest loser of all time. Imagine if he hadn't done it." And then a bunch of historians were quoting it like, "You do realize before this was invented, the work week was like 90 hours in the factory. Like this was actually a historic good thing,
Yeah.
And it's just no different than these practices. I'm a big believer though that, and it feels like this once the season happens and we get a lot of injuries, then it's not Kyle Shanahan. He is not alone by any means. Everyone's doing this except like Andy and Tomlin that are probably like tackling to the ground as we speak. You just get to these games and you start going full speed, right? Debo and Ayuk have been running around full speed, but like Fred, like the impacts aren't full speed,
right.
And Trent, like what Trent has to do, and he's an all-time great player.
Trent was in street clothes today. McCaffrey vet day off. Few vet days off today.
And I don't even blame it. Like I do agree, but it's just, is it the ultimate? Like I do think the guy from the 90s, like we were prepared when the season came for the calluses on our body. Like
sure.
The guys are just not now. And I would say this with the 49ers. I bet if we looked at the schedule week 1, they just overall player-wise the most physical game on the schedule.
Steelers?
I mean, to me, I would imagine that's going to be one of the better
Ravens?
close. Well, I'm just saying, like, I'm just talking week 1
the
schedule.
first game. I understand. Yeah.
Like, it's probably one of the more physical matchups you could make in the NFL, right?
Yep. Let me tell you here, John, if I had anything else on pass plays, nothing significant outside of that. No big deep balls. Like I said, Danny Gray. Trey Lance at one point in team drill took good control. Willis wasn't lined up in the right spot, and Trey was directing him, so we knew that play. I told you who was off today. Actually, before I get to an injury, let me just AW here threw us a 20 spot to ask, is the quarterback play better than what you've seen from Jimmy Garoppolo in past camps? Well, Jimmy's had remember those days where like Fred Warner picks him off 3 times and it's not good. But
Jimmy had a stretch where he threw a pick 6 in like 5 straight days. Remember that?
This is gonna sound bad, I think. But no, the quarterback play has been fine enough. We got to get to games and then we'll see with these guys. But no, I wouldn't say you go out there, watch them throw and go, God, finally they got rid of Garoppolo and now we can watch these guys play. That's not.
I mean, they have been going to the NFC Championship game without like Marino and Favre, so it's kind of their operation.
That's right. Elijah Mitchell strained, and we should probably run a poll here. Maybe you know the answer. Is it abductor or adductor?
Is that like the muscle that's your 6-pack?
Yeah. Or, well, I don't know. I think there's multiple abductors. Like I'm just Googling. I assumed it was like 6-pack, but now I'm Googling hip abductor.
Yeah.
So,
I think you start, once the guy tells you who they are, you got to start believing them. And I'm a big fan of this guy's game, but I think we've already talked about it over the first couple of years.
Glute on the outside of the hip, adductor is groin.
It's not really even debatable anymore. You got to have 4 or 5 guys in the operation, right? If you tell me, like, is he dressed week 1 or is he hurt? I'd be like, well, he probably gets hurt.
Yeah. Or this injury, we're still 5 weeks out. Maybe something else happens. Maybe not. Hopefully not. But Jordan Mason's been good. Ty Davis Price, I think, does. The reports are those guys look good. I concur. I've seen it. Ty Davis Price runs really hard, cuts hard. Kalan Laybourne, I think is how you pronounce it, from Florida State, then Marshall. He looks springy today. So,
well, guy, this is the thing. This is what Jim Irsay say what you want. Drug issues, overall, just issues as a human being. You can question all he wants. You can't question his desire to help free will. You see, he's spending millions of dollars to save the Orca, but
like $20 million.
Irsay's right about the running back position because the guy that you just listed from Florida State and then Marshall. We see it time and time again with specifically the 49ers, right? If you tell me Jordan Mason and Ty Davis Price, could those guys combine to get you 1,200 yards? Like assuming they could both stay healthy, hell yeah. I mean, it's just time and time again. And guys come out of nowhere. You know Gibbs, the running back that the Lions drafted, 12th or 13th?
Jameer?
He's from Alabama, but he transferred from Georgia Tech the year before.
Right.
And people were not viewing this guy as some lock top 50 pick, goes to Alabama. It's happening in college football. These running backs move and then become legit. Didn't Charbonnet, did he start at Michigan? Or am I thinking of a different guy at UCLA?
No, you're correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, guys transferring now, a lot like quarterbacks, and then go on to get in a good spot. I think Charbonnet got hurt at Seattle's practice, but I think they had a day of practice when Walker and him both got hurt a couple days ago.
Check this out, John. According to Matt Barrows, abductor. According to Matt Mayoko, adductor.
The other thing is the pads they wear. I don't know if it was Jason Kelsey. Definitely an O-lineman on a podcast had said that I think it might have been Jason Kelsey. Thought maybe him and Lane Johnson were talking about it, and thought like in the 6 months ago, think there's a lot of hype on these things, and they've had consistent concussions, or they did last camp with those, the extra padding. I think Jordan Mailata, their tackle, got one last year in training camp. which just doesn't think like, I don't think the information is just out that they're a lock. I know they're big believers that it decreases it, but I see all linemen all around the league getting concussions.
Shanahan likes it for quarterback protection if they hit their fingers on the helmets.
I agree. I mean, that makes sense, but it's not. Yeah. I mean, Aaron Banks is wearing one right now, right? Because all of the linemen are and got a concussion.
Jalen Moore, bone bruised knee. That's good news.
Yes.
So,
what was
Drake Jackson smoked Colton McKivitz today? Smoked. Looked fantastic. Like just around the edge and whoop.
Make a sack?
No, I think Purdy got the ball out, but it was quickly. Good that he did.
So I think it's fair to say then that the three guys that they drafted pretty high, that they clearly, me and you talked to Lynch last year in OTAs. He's like, we felt pretty lucky get all three of them where we did. Because remember, they were not drafting high. To get Drake Jackson, Danny Gray, and Ty Davis-Price, clearly take that little year 1 to year 2 kind of feels like they all just feel a little more relevant in this practice.
I would put Danny Gray third on that list right now. He's got a shot. The problem is, like you and I think I mentioned to you when I looked the other day, Ray, who was a pretty impactful player for them, had like 15 catches last year. So it's still going to be hard to get touches in theory. But yeah, I mean, I saw somebody said here in the chat, Red Eye says Danny Gray's a body catcher, can't catch with his hands, arms, but his chest body, not a real receiver to sight, 4.3 speed, 10 targets last year, 1 catch, 6 yards. I've watched a lot of Danny Gray because he's with the quarterbacks in the, routes on air, in one-on-ones, and then in team. And I've kept a close eye on him. And I've told you guys 3 times, I've heard him just kind of yell when he doesn't get the ball or he gets a drop. I've seen him drop passes. I think he's making a concerted effort to catch the ball with his hands, not with his body. When I've seen him drop the ball, it's been trying to catch with his hands, not with his body. I don't think he's there yet. I think Ty Davis-Price has a chance to be more impactful. Definitely Drake does. But I'm not giving up. Like, there was a period coming into this camp where I thought, like, are Danny Gray's opportunities about to decrease? Ronnie Bell's had some nice moments, but Danny, it still brings something that nobody else brings. And I've always appreciated that he tries to block and he doesn't return. He just plays special teams. So I think he has really helped himself. And if Danny Gray ultimately is a success story, part of it will be because he's willing to do the other things necessary to get himself on the field and to remain kind of in the rotation where, the 5th, 6th receivers have to, in order to be among the 5th or 6th receiver competition, because he plays special teams. So I think he works hard. And I think he's got a chance. I think he's got a better chance, honestly, than I did like coming into the camp.
I think in the preseason games, because I would imagine Sam Darnold and Trey Lance are going to play a lot, he's going to get some looks. Right? I mean, he's a lock to make the team 100%. Because especially, I just mean from an offensive standpoint. And when I said those guys took a big role, obviously his role is dependent on them throwing the ball, and they got sweet wide receivers and options. I'm not acting like – I just mean clearly he's a more confident player. Ty Davis-Price is clearly just a better player or more focused, more mature, whatever. And Drake just battled body issues last year, right? Because, I mean, let's face it, a lot of D linemen, maturity, no one gives a shit. You either have, like, the physical capabilities or you don't. And they just couldn't get his body right. And even Shanahan and Lynch said by the end of the year he had no power. Remember, wasn't that their thing? Like, it was just like wasn't. And now it kind of feels like he's got a pretty good idea what he's working with headed into this thing, and they're going to need him.
Yep.
Right. They're just going to need him.
They are going to need him.
I listened to Ndamukong and Sue. Rosillo had him on, and I was thinking, and he talked about like. This point in time of his career, he's a non-training camp guy. He's just like a mercenary, just shows up like week 1 or 2. But they talked about a lot of different things, and one of the things he mentioned was, in his time in Detroit, he was around Kasurik, and he's like, they know exactly what. I was thinking, like, would he be a guy? Remember, they kind of sniffed around last year. Like, do they need? Do they body-wise? I mean, why wouldn't they just depth? I mean, just he's only going to good teams, so he knows the D line or D line coach.
Yeah. That's a good pick.
Just gives you some depth. You can never have enough. I mean, at any moment, you can lose a D lineman for a month.
Absolutely. It's why when I was talking to Kruger the other day, and I said, like, I don't think they need D lineman. I think I already mentioned this to you 2 days ago. When you start thinking about like all the guys they rattled through there the last couple of years, it's true. They have had really good depth at that position. Kyle Juszczyk, John. There's no audio here, but for those of you watching, here's video. Kyle did a press conference wearing a Brandon Ayuk hat and a Debo Samuel hoodie. That's a good team.
What's a Brandon Ayuk hat?
Well, it looks like, I can't quite tell. It looks like it's a B, and then the two lines are the 11. Like the stake, the vertical line in a B is an 11. But
I'd rock that Debo sweatshirt for sure.
The Debo, I think the Ayuk hat, it's a clean logo. And
oh yeah, it is. I can kind of see it.
Can you see in this video that I'm playing?
I've had several people. It might have been on the same night. A neighbor and then a guy that Maria sold a house to. And again, I'm pretty sure it was the same night because he made the one guy a lot of money. They were at the craps table with Debo, and they just, both of them just like were in like shocked by just how cool and down to earth he was. And you and I were talking probably a top couple Niner that just, if you were in a random spot, especially in a situation like that, a lot of these guys are betting, 4-figure hands on the crap. So it's not like $5 hand blackjack, right? So you're in a crew that he was the richest, like as they said. One guy told me the wads of cash he had were by far the biggest in the crew. But he just said he was just huge smile, hugging people after rolls. And they just said couldn't have been any cooler and more down to earth. And everyone's hugging after rolls and just said it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, I think Debo would definitely be on the list of guys that would be very friendly if you ran into them at a casino. And would enjoy the fact, would enjoy their celebrity, all of that,
Yeah.
Maybe
Plus, I think
one day later in his life, you want to be behind closed doors, but I think that's part of the fun.
Yeah, and in the casino and on a craps table is typically in a weird spot, a safe place because like they don't allow phones out. The casinos don't, for gambling reasons. There have been some stories. Someone forwarded me something yesterday that like a gambling ring involving some NFL players could come out. Obviously, some of these Iowa State stuff, the backup quarterback when Purdy was the starter, betting on games through his mom. Do you see that story?
Mm-hmm. How about was it the Iowa kicker or was it the Iowa kicker the other day?
There was an Iowa State backup quarterback who I think now's a starter. There was something with an Iowa, I don't know if it was a basketball player or a football player.
A football player. It was definitely a football player. It was like 83 bets totaling $4,000.
Yeah.
Including the under on Iowa State. Or something like
that. It was a lot of Iowa, I felt, because it was definitely an Iowa State quarterback, and I went and looked. It was like against an Oklahoma State game that was the one game they'd bet on a lot of stuff, but that was a game they bet on his own team. And I would imagine that these DraftKings, all the companies are so sensitive to regulation. They've worked so hard for this to pass. They have zero hesitancy turning in fucking 100%. Anybody.
And that's what these guys got to realize. Like, it used to be that everyone was trying to avoid detection. Now they are the ones catching you.
They are detecting.
They are self-policing.
They are trying to stay above board on this. Right. They want the deals with, and clearly, right, the number one thing they make money from is betting on football, college and pro. So they are, it feels like going over the top on those athletes. Because you're turning in guys from 2021. It's almost 2024.
Yeah, why are they just getting to this? Exactly. Iowa kicker made 170 bets of $4,400 while under the age of 21, the legal age to bet in Iowa, including 8 bets on Hawkeye sporting events, including the under on total points in the 2021 Iowa State game. He didn't play. Iowa won 27-17. I mean, that had to have been Iowa State was probably scoring a lot of points. I don't know what the over-run was.
27-17. What's that?
44.
30, 40. Yeah, probably. Remember, I mean, Iowa doesn't score many points. Probably hovering right mid-low 40s.
Yeah, I'd love to know if he won the bet.
He was sweating that on the sideline.
So,
Coach, run the ball, Coach.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe something. You're right. 7 players at Iowa and Iowa State have been tied to run the ball, Coach. Get out there and kick it. No.
I bet if we went to every, the NFL coaches, but I bet heavily in college as well. It's got to be within the first couple days of training camp, talking like an hour talk about the serious nature of this. Don't you think?
100%.
If you told me that they spent a large percentage on like the first day, I mean, that would be as important as like hydration stations, right? Because guys, you will go away.
It's not about right. You will get caught.
Yeah, they will turn you in. Do not use your fucking moms, your girlfriends, your
That
sisters.
was one of them. The guy was that the backup quarterback?
Dude was using his whole family. Yeah, he was using his mom and dad. These guys, I mean, you don't realize they are going. This is the opposite of shady. They are opening their books to everybody, especially the two most important leagues, which are the NFL and NCAA football, because they can't have ever getting cut off. It would fuck them. Yep. Their whole business is predicated on that 4-month stretch.
When they're putting them in their stadiums. Right.
Big time.
New revenue streams, all that.
I'm telling you, I think it's a little crazy. It's a little early, but Niners being a 3-point favorite on the road. Started slow under Shanahan. Pittsburgh, I mean, Brock Purdy's just going to roll into that place and just, I mean, it's.
My guess, if we looked historically, Mike Tomlin covers a lot.
Guy, he is one, I think, statistically. I think
he's one of the best covers in the league, right?
Well, I think he's definitely one of the great, if not the greatest underdog coach in like the history of the league. Like his record as an underdog is historically great. Historically great. So I don't love that number. I'd rather have it just be like a pick 'em, right? So it's like, yeah, that's fair. You know, Brock Purdy coming off an injury, Steelers, hot team at the end of the year, but just like 3-point favorite? Like, I mean, what? I think that number's a little much. 'Cause I think the Steelers are an 11-win team. And defensively, they are. I'm telling you, I think that game is just like buckle. I think it's going to look a little old school. Just some bodies fucking getting blasted. People are going to get hit.
Two of the best pass rushers in the league. Maybe the two best, two of the four best pass rushers in the league in that game.
I mean, we sure Nicholas is back by then?
Better hope so. Or Drake Jackson about to have his day.
Even Schefter yesterday with McAfee was like, yeah, the number's pretty high. I was like, well.
I know. I noticed that. Did you watch those clips?
I fired through a couple of them.
Yeah, I mean, one thing he said was a lot of people attached to him relaying compliments about Trey, but I thought the thing he said that was significant was after saying all the compliments, he talked to Niners people who told him, no, Brock looks good. Oh, we love Trey. And then he also said, but Sam Darnold has a really good shot at being the number 2 quarterback, which, was also part of the conversations he had with Niners people. So I don't think there's any debate anymore about how real that is. Clearly, it's very real, that possibility.
Listen, I think people have to be very careful, and I don't blame anyone for looking on the internet and seeing the information and thinking that is black and white, right? And thinking that is all that matters. That is not the case with how this stuff is evaluated. I think a lot of the times, obviously, you couldn't go 1 for 10 every practice and not have it be a disaster. But there is a lot of, this is the one sport that, unless like Kyle Shanahan describes every single thing to you on every single play, no one knows. Even half the players don't even know all that. You stand next to them at practice, you're like, what was I supposed to do there? What's the deal when they go to rotation? It's like, it is the most complicated game by far. So to think that you can just break it down to like Steph Curry shot 8 of 12 from the field, it is just, it's not even remotely that close to being the case. And then the other factor is that fair or not, and sometimes it's not fair to guys because like how do you get the opportunity to actually prove it on tape? And I think that is the argument with Trey, who clearly has improved and clearly like has something that other guys haven't had. I watch Aaron Rodgers talk about Zach Wilson. He's like, I bet he's clearly playing better in this practice, and last year should be a learning time for him. Just even Aaron's like, some of the things he said, that's never been an issue with Trey. So Trey has these intangible characteristics that are very good. But like the Sam Darnold, fair or not, them knowing that he can play in games, and most recently just had some success at the end of the year, that way, like that piece of the pie doesn't factor in like to the fans or even the media people watching, yet it does to Kyle. It just does. It's why so many guys get signed that like, well, I know about the tape. Like D. Winters or whoever, some of the Ty Davis Price. Like you kind of got to prove your shit right now to even get the opportunity to then prove to the rest of the league when everyone's watching.
Yeah.
Once you've proven in the league, like ultimately why these vet day off, like Trent McCaffrey and Kittle and Fred, they have nothing to prove. Nothing. Even like an Aaron Banks now, like we feel good about him. We know that he can play in games. Way less to prove. And i.e., doesn't it reflect how they're talking about like the guards this year? Both those guys played. They feel good about like, obviously you improve your technique. And I'm not saying you don't continue to get better, but it's no longer like, we'll see how it goes in the games.
Right.
Which is always the number one thing a coach says. We'll see. Right? They always preface it by that because the game on the preseason game, there is no scheme. That you don't, like, you haven't game planned. Maybe the coaches do a little, but not in the sense of like, well, you're going to get these coverages. You just kind of play. You just kind of run your plays. We know the regular season is nothing like that. And then when you factor in week in, week out, week in, week out, week in, week out. So it's very, very difficult. The hardest part is not necessarily for high picks because they usually just get the opportunity, but definitely for mid-round picks. And Trey's kind of found himself in I just think one of the most unique spots ever. Because say what you want about Zach Wilson, Zach's got to play a shitload, right? He's just been banged up and went shitty, but like most people got a good idea. Yeah, his tape was bad. He was awful in however many games he started in a couple years, right? We've seen it. I bet he's got, if I had to guess, 15 plus starts, maybe 20. So like he does have game in, game out, game in, game out, one good game, bunch of bad games.
Mm-hmm.
That just has an outweighed, importance in coaches' minds. It does. Especially also like when you're in win now mode, and that was clearly a learning process for all of us that follow this team really closely, is like they kind of thought they could do it, and then they realized right away, no. We no more guessing games, right? And the moment they start guessing with like position players, they'll just yank you, right? Like, okay, we'll see Trey Sermon. Oh, nope, see it. The position players, their hook is quick, right? Ty Davis Price last year, kind of, nope. Dre Jackson, kind of, nope. Like they fucking have a short leash. I'd say Kyle, if Kyle was a baseball manager, his leash to yank guys would be really, really quick.
And it'd be like for especially with running backs, for example, it'd be for a specific thing, right? Not blocking, you're out. Like you are, no shot. I can't trust you back there to protect the quarterback, which a lot of coaches feel that way, but especially Kyle, right? Because I can get anybody 4 yards. All my guys have the same skill set. Any of them, I can get Jeff Wilson 3 touchdowns in a game. Whoever can block and knows the offense is the guy that's going to play.
And even if you,
I've gotten a bunch of you that are the same.
And think about 2 years ago when Ambry Thomas was kind of forced into action and none of them were ready. By the next year, it's like Lenore gets a little opportunity and then rest is history. He becomes like the starter, right? Once you get a chance and you do well, they'll also ride you like the hot hand. But he's proven to not like, I'll just give him a couple months, see how it goes. That's just not, they kind of, maybe they did that if we look back, feels like a lifetime ago, like 17, 18, but they have not rolled like that at all since they started winning games.
And and hot hand, like, doesn't earn you anything beyond the next carry.
I mean, they like loved Burford and he kind of won the starting job, and even they would like yank him out of games. Like, oh, he's overwhelmed. Fucking get his ass out. It's like what their starting guard. Yeah, they would yank their starting guard. Honestly, that's pretty reflective of the operation. And it kind of reflects Kyle's personality. Like Andy's much more like, just give him some reps, let's go.
Yeah.
And just kind of lives through it.
Right. Yeah,
I mean, to a
great
point.
question. Has anyone talked about that? We got to go here in a second, but were those, running back coaches get to rotate the running backs? They're the ones generally that decide. Bobby Turner's going to be the one that says whether or not Price is in the game or Mason's in the game, generally. How do they do that with the offensive line? Was that Chris Forrester or was Kyle making the call? I wonder.
Well, that to me is where, when your head coach, your offensive coordinator, it's all kind of intertwined, right? And I'd say their crew of guys feels like they complete each other's
Get him
sentences.
the fuck out of there. Yeah, Forrester wanted him out. I don't know. So, all right, we'll leave it there for today.
I got one quick thing because I saw everyone in the media. This is a little baseball hot stove take. That if anyone has watched Billions or read, I forget, like I forget the book on Steve Cohen, but I think that was
Black Edge.
Yeah.
Really good book.
This guy is a fucking killer. Well, to trade Max Scherzer, he had a no trade clause. You have to get him to agree. So Scherzer's whole thing was, they looked me in the eye and they're like, we're going to just fucking blow it up. We're going to suck for a year or two and try to get good in 25. Like, we're going to. They 100% lied to his face to try to get him to it. But everyone's like, oh, the Mets are just tapping out. No way. You don't think this offseason they're going to offer Ohtani like $900 million? It's a genius move. If you're Steve Cohen, you look at whoever the GM, some guy named Billy, you go, listen, tell him whatever you need to tell him. We will trade Lindor. We will trade Darryl Strawberry. We'll fucking trade Shea Stadium.
Yeah.
We're going to suck. And Max, and I don't even blame Max. You're like, yeah, fuck, I'll wait. This is going to suck. Do you believe? Like, of course, it kind of hit me after I heard like the third media guy was like, yeah, the Mets are just tapping out. Bullshit. But they had to tell Max that to get him to waive the no trade, which is a genius business move on Cohen's side. That was my theory.
That's a good theory. I like that theory. I don't think Cohen wants to rebuild, even though it's kind of. Now, he did trade good players for prospects, but that's not really the pitch to Ohtani. Hey, Shohei, 25, man, right?
I just think he lived in the moment. He knew he wanted to unload him, get off this like 40-year-old guy he's paying a bunch of money, lie to him. He's eating some of this money. He basically bought prospects. I heard someone say he kind of bought a farm system.
Well, I think it's genius. Like, I would, if you're borderline good but borderline rebuilding, you just stock guys. The Giants and the A's have done this. Like, Farhan has done it. The A's definitely used to do it to a degree, although with lesser purchases, right? Knowing I'll just flip this guy at the deadline, and I really didn't need him that much anyway. I think it's great business to pay guys a lot of money. Then you eat the money to buy prospects. If money's no object, it's a great way to replenish your system, actually.
It's got to be an incredible
Max has to be pitching soon, right? He hasn't pitched for the Rangers yet, I don't think.
Today? This morning. I mean, they were playing. I looked up. It kind of got into like my Twitter feed. It was like the Rangers hit a home run tied at 3-3. I don't think Max is even good right now, but they just wanted to unload him. It's a genius. Yeah. More teams should do that. Like, whenever like Bradley Beal, like we are going to only play with G Leaguers. So either accept the trade or just be here. I don't care how much money, you're going to be miserable.
You have to get somebody to take him, though. How crazy is that, though? Verlander and Scherzer ended up back together, and it was over in half a season.
Sometimes you buy a team, it just doesn't work.
It's the Mets.
I also think just historically in sports, anytime that you like kind of get close and then you just like double down with unlimited funds, it feels like it usually backfires. I would say historically it has. Most times the team, basketball, football, or baseball, this is like, I saw it in Philly. You see it a lot in baseball when we were younger, definitely. Basketball, it's definitely harder now with all the rules, but back in the day, like Barkley, Clyde, Hakeem, right? It's like it just the Lakers got Karl Malone, Gary Payton, John Havlicek, Kobe, Shaq. It's like fuck. It usually just comes up short, and it's rare that like that was crazy. It all worked out. It's just not usually how sports works.
No, it's not. Did you mention what was the SI cover with the Lakers with Nash? Did you mention that team?
No, Dwight.
Nash, Dwight.
Kobe. Powell,
I saw a clip today. I know we got to go, but I saw a clip today because Carly Lloyd ripped the USA women the other day. Did you see this?
They lose?
No, they tied 0-0, and they were like all happy and signing autographs. And Carly Lloyd was just not like, what are we doing? Like, this is not acceptable. And somebody then posted this video of one time Kobe was on Jimmy Kimmel's show.
Yeah.
Did you see that clip?
I've seen it before.
And the sideline reporter Mike Trudell is interviewing.
Was it Swaggy P?
No, Swaggy P stuck his head and is like, "We back," and then like somebody else sticks their head in it. JaVale like, "We here,"
Yeah.
And Kobe is just so angry.
I didn't realize that was what she was pissed on, that they tied, and
they were too happy. She thought post game
because they're supposed to conduct themselves. Have you seen some of the Messi highlights? He looks like the MLS.
Well, someo's like, are they intentionally
it's not hard enough
defense to help this league?
Well, it's not. It's not. If they are, it's clearly just not even remotely hard enough for an old I don't know if he's over the hill, but like old Messi is like,
he's on the sled down the hill. He's about
this is a joke. I mean, he's like balls around his neck, like kicking, boop, easy goals. It's like, what the fuck?
Dressed like a flamingo.
That more and more every goal he scores, it's like it takes away any credibility. Us just normal sports fans, like, is the MLS getting better? Like, no. I mean, give me a break. I understand he's the greatest player ever, but he's like 37. Doesn't even look like he's trying that hard. He came here because he got like equity in Apple, and he's just scoring like 4 goals a game now.
Well, he gets bonuses for like he basically gets promo code Messi with like people that sign up with his promo code. He gets money.
I can't remember the exact headline, but I'm pretty sure like either game 1 or game 2 was a pretty large number of people watching.
Yeah,
worldwide.
And it was like some friendly match against some. I don't.
I wonder if they did like a soft launch, like the Athletic used to do, like free article, like free game, or do you just have to sub?
I don't think they did a free game. I think you had to sub. Carl gave us $10, so we'll get to this before we get out. Sup, guys? If you had to place a bet right now, what would the QB order be? Brock, Trey, Sam. Will they keep 4? I think it'll be 3 guys. Brock 1. I think Trey does have it. I think there is still time for this thing to play out. I think the smart money, some of the money's on Sam at 2, but it would not. I think Trey can still be the second quarterback for this team.
If it was a horse race, Brock's winning. He's gonna win, but like, is Sam ahead of Trey right now? If the horses were kind of coming around the corner,
not like if my only consideration was
factoring in knowing what the organization
then Sam's a little ahead of him based on what I think they think. Yeah,
because that's the whole point of this conversation that I see that kind of annoys me. It's like, guys, if this was year 1, I can understand like media people being able like, this is bullshit, which is ultimately going to be the take. But there's a lot of evidence now of success. Like success is going on. So I think the guy pulling the decision, which is the head coach, like I think deserves like pretty good decision maker when it comes to this, right? So I think he's proven. If the Niners hadn't been winning, I think everyone can just throw stones wherever they want, right? But I which is gonna happen if Sam wins the job. It's gonna be a shit show like on the Twitter sphere.
But John,
but it's like the guy. They won 13 games last year. They went to back-to-back NFC Championship games.
Part of the reason I'm so anti like trade or cut Trey too, and not cut trade Trey. Like part of the reason I want him around is because I think there's still time for Kyle can get tired of Sam in 3 months, 2 months, real quickly. Like he can change his mind there, and none of these guys have the capability. I don't think. We'll see. Although today, Kyle did call. I think he called him a dude. Like Brock's a dude. He said something like that. But if Trey Lance doesn't have an NFL career beyond this, or Sam, it's not going to be because Sam Darnold stood in Trey Lance's way, and that ended his career, or vice versa. Right?
Like I do think it's fair to say that if this doesn't go well, Purdy has a bad season, they like limp to 9-10 wins. Like, God, it would be very fair to go, God, they put a lot of stock in Mr. Irrelevant really quick.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't think
to me
get 17 games. If it's not going well, he's not getting 17 games, John. I don't believe. Well, Donald's stepping in there. He's getting benched.
Yeah, to me,
or Trey, or and then Kirk Cousins is coming, and we laugh about it. But that's like if none of these guys, if the 3 guys on this team, if none of them become the quarterback, or in Brock's case, stay the quarterback, then Kirk Cousins is here next year.
That's 100% lock, right? If their quarterback situation is just a negative this year, Kirk Cousins will be on the team because they are financially obligated to none of these guys, really, right?
Kirk's the most to come in for some equity too, on like a promo code for.
Well,
Sunday
he would like they ain't paying you $40 million a year.
Yeah, all right.
But they could do one of those like 7-year deals. You see, Rodgers signed a 7-year deal. It's all.
Oh, is that how they moved it all around? Yeah. Thursday Night Football, John. If you're watching this live, is up tonight. Thanks for hanging with us, everybody. Later.